hello all, and welcome back to Space Engineers. Today we are taking a look at some spawn pod submissions for our Europa spawn pod. These all had to be skimmers, so zero friction wheel designs, and I'm excited to see what we've got. So I think the first one we're going to take a look at, as usual, is going to be my submission. It's always the place we start, and it's a good place to start, I think. Pretty simple setup, as usual. I like to keep all of my designs pretty close to the original starter pods. We've got our survival kit and O2H2. It is piped all the way through, and then there's an engine up front here. A few decorative little panels, and this does access all of that other stuff if you want to pull stuff in and out here. It does need to be powered on. I didn't want it sitting here and losing power while we waited. But this is my setup. It has beacon, antenna, a little bit of everything on the sides. I did remember to put an ore detector on it this time. So it has that. Over here, it has a way to lock itself down. If you hop in the cockpit here, we've got on a timer block, you can lock yourself with that. And that, when it's locked, it automatically turns off all of the thrusters and gyros. See the gyro turned off immediately. And the wheels and everything like that, just to save power. And as soon as it detaches, that stuff automatically turns back on. We also have a little periscope for controlling and looking around, and it lets you zoom in and zoom out, which is kind of nice. I always like adding periscopes to things, and I hadn't done it yet, so I figured this should be the one. That's all set up. Flip through the hotbars here. I do have pretty much everything on the hotbars. A few things for starter inventory. We've burned through a little bit of ice, but that's okay. There is a small hydrogen tank, so you have just enough to kind of fuel yourself. The only hydrogen thruster is the one on the back. The rest are atmospheric, which work just fine on Europa here. There's a small atmosphere, so those stabilize, and then the one little hydrogen thruster gets you moving. We'll take it for a test drive in a second here. I just want to look through the rest of the blocks. A few batteries, basically just barely enough batteries that your thrusters can be functional. The one hydrogen tank, of course, survival kit, ore detector, beacon. Basically, I figured you're going to be driving around on fuel if you're going to be using hydrogen engines stuff, so I don't have to worry too much about batteries or power otherwise. So that should be just fine. What I'm going to do for the test drives is I'm just going to copy and paste these things. That way the originals don't get banged up, and I'm going to take them on a bit of a scoot around the surface and see how they actually feel. All right, let's take this out for a test drive. It's pretty slow as far as skimmers and vehicles go, just in general, but it's supposed to be a starter pod, so I figured that wasn't the end of the world. And having one hydrogen thruster actually lets you fly with this if you want to just take it straight to space. It's not the most maneuverable thing, but it does work. I thought about putting a down thruster on it to keep you sucked to the ground, but I kind of like the idea of just bouncing around and skimming with this thing. All right, so this is normally the view from inside. You have just enough to see your hydrogen situation up above your screen, or your front window. That's not actually a window. So you can see where you're going, and you can see how much hydrogen you have, because that's going to be your primary fuel source with this setup. It should last quite a long time, too. You actually probably won't, as long as you have ice in your O2H2 generator, you probably won't be able to run yourself out of hydrogen. That is pretty much everything for this one, though. Drive feels decent, and we're going to move on to our next one. This is Ph.D. Composers. I can recognize his builds because they're almost always boats, but this is kind of a nice idea. A boat for a skimmer. Lots of big thrusters on this one. Looks like a whole bunch of hand storage, hand access storage. Not bad at all. We got some engines on the back, two of them, two hydrogen engines. Ooh, some buttons inside. Small connector. I'm guessing that's for refueling. It's one of your racers. I mean, it looks like a racing boat. That's kind of cool. We have a survival kit that you can't access the panel on. I don't know if I understand that, but let me guess there's a survival... Nope, there's not a survival kit on the other side. How come I can't access the survival kit panel? Can you do it from the inside? Ah, you do it from the inside, okay. I guess that makes sense. Ooh, you've got some plushies up front, too. Let's see what you have for different things inside here. Actually, gonna just look around at the first-person view for a second. Some buttons, some screens, some see-through screens. Yeah, it's got a pretty good view. Wouldn't complain about that. Got the media player for annoying your friends. How many gyros? So you got 2 gyros, 2 engines, a bunch of thrusters, 2 O2H2 generators, ore detector, a couple parachute hatches that you probably won't be using, but that's okay. Some small cargo. Oh, whoa, a whole lot of hydrogen tanks. There's a lot of hydrogen tanks. If the count is right, that's 14 of them. Pretty cool. I've noticed in the voting, pretty much every single voting thing we've done, the person who just gives you the most stuff to start with always wins. I haven't been voting that way, but it seems to be a trend. So maybe more is not, maybe more is better. I don't know. But this one does seem to have a decent amount of stuff for a start. I'm going to give it a test drive. I haven't made strict limits. That way people can be a little bit more creative. But, and you know, like, it's okay. If people want the starts on the server to be a bit easier, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm assuming this is this friction? Wheel friction on my hotbar? Yes. Okay, so I just reduced the friction. Friction on the hotbar is nice. It lets you park without having to have some sort of magnetic plate or something. You can change that. I feel like I'm definitely not getting maximal thrust out of my back thrusters. Is there a reason for that? Are they limited? Tanks on stockpile. Oh, that would explain it probably. I'm just using my O2H2s. Alright. Yeah, we'll set those to auto. There we go. Now we're getting full thrust. Oh my gosh. This one's definitely going to explode with me driving. They're all pretty durable, honestly. This one gets up to speed real fast with the double large thrusters on the back. Has the same issue mine does with pretty much, oh god, pretty much flying all the time. Yeah, this one has less bottom clearance, for sure. I suppose if you were good at driving, maybe you wouldn't have a problem, but... managing to beat this one up rather easily. It's okay. It's just the pilot. I mean, maybe? Well, at least we have a consistent pilot for all of them. Does that make it fair? I managed to blow that one up pretty quickly. We're going to copy it again and take it for another test run, just to give it a little bit more of a chance to not explode. The wheels near the back are, you know, like, there's no wheels way at the back, so if you land with your back first, or if you land with the front first, and then it rotates you around towards the back, try not to fly. You say that, but then you gave it 2 giant thrusters at the back. So you want me to just not push forwards very often? You don't want me to go at max speed? Because if you go at max speed, you're basically always going to be flying. Like, I can purposely fly slowly. But doesn't that defeat the point of a racer? Yeah, the big thrusters, they're misleading. They make you want to go fast, and they make it really easy to go fast. But then if you go fast, you end up flying, and if you end up flying, you end up bottoming out. Comes down to skill. There. It's tricky to land this one without blowing it up. Like, you can do it, sure, but I think this one's prone to blowing up more so than maybe some of the other ones. I honestly think the thrusters are fine, Stormwind. I think what I would do is I would add another wheel, or move these little wheels further back, so that when you hit the ground, because if you hit the ground like this at all, you're gonna blow the back up. If you hit the ground with the front down, you're then going to rotate really quickly and blow the back up. Landing to the side shouldn't be a problem with this one, because the things are far enough out. It's just, it doesn't have supports far enough back, in my opinion. Now we can see the next one. Who built this one? Carsten. So Carsten built this one? Big atmospheric thrusters. Easy access to the survival kit. What do we have for inventory? We got a medium cargo container, O2H2 generator. Very nice. And the connector, of course. Let's look at the layout up here. Oh, it has a solar panel too. It's for a little bit of recharging. A hydrogen engine, 2 large batteries. Do we have... Yep, we have a beacon and a ore detector. Very good. Everything we need. Jump in this and check if I'm missing anything. Does it have a gyroscope? It does. Okay, good. I was a little bit worried that this one wouldn't have a gyro for some reason, because it looks like a car. This is the only one that used the wheels in that orientation, but there's no rule against it. It just doesn't seem to be the convention when you are building this type of vehicle, though this does let the suspension actually work for you, so I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The problem with this is it has no thrusters to the sides, so once you give this thing 0 friction, oh dear lord, it speeds up real quick with that thruster. The wheels are super wide, so there really shouldn't be a problem with tipping over, blowing up. But it feels more like an airplane for sure than a skimmer with the giant thruster. Someone's gonna say it's a skill issue again. I can hear it coming. There aren't yeah, I'm looking at the bottom. There aren't any side thrusters on this one. It's just the one big one on the back. Ooh. Hit the hole from the other vehicle. Oh gosh. Alright, I managed to crash it. I hit the ground with the front a little bit too quickly, and it went inside itself there. Alright. I think we'll call it good enough for driving for that one. I think the wheels on this one probably should be moved 1 or 2 blocks forward and 1 or 2 blocks back from the back, so that you can refrain from crashing like that. Maybe move them in a little bit too. I'm not sure. All right, what do we got next? Whose is this? Is this AWOL's? It's AWOL's colors, or colors that he tends to like to use. Yes, it is. All right, so this is AWOL's submission. I was looking at these beforehand. I really like the layout on this one. I'm gonna predict that I will crash the front though. We'll see. Let's take a look at the outside first. We've got medium cargo container, a first aid cabinet, interesting, flush cockpit, O2H2, very good, survival kit. Yeah, I like the stance. I like the supports for the wheels and everything on this one. It looks really nice. We've got a bunch of thrusters. They're using atmospheric, which is perfectly fine. That will keep you on the surface of the planet. No need for hydrogen thrusters, but we do have hydrogen fueling, so hydrogen power source, with the engine, the O2H2, and then of course a little bit of cargo to store your ice. So you have infinite fuel because you're literally driving on a moon of fuel. We have a searchlight on it, which is nice for zooming in. Ore detector. Is there any ore on this moon? There must be ore on this moon. I've never played on this moon because I don't really like the low gravity plus slipperiness, but I'm assuming the ore detectors are going to be useful. It would figure the one pod I put an ore detector on mine for, there are no ores. Yes, there's ore here? Okay. I was pretty sure there was. I've just never actually played here, so I make these claims without knowing it. And we have a control for the camera so we can zoom in on people. Look at his fancy gun on the shoulder. What else we got on the hotbars? Just the main hotbar. 9 is handbrake. Handbrake does nothing if you have 0 friction. That's what I assumed. I wasn't certain though. Just want to make sure. Friction is set to 14.68%. So this one does have friction. So the handbrake will work on this one. Like having a little bit of friction. I mean, I'll allow it. You can still move with your thrusters. And the friction helps a little bit when you're actually touching the ground, which is honestly not often when you're driving on this moon. We're going to drive it around with the default friction that was set up by the creator, and then I'm going to turn it down to 0 friction and just see how it feels with 0 friction. It should land just fine. Yeah, no issues with landing on this one. The wheels are spread out enough. I think I could probably land poorly and break the front of it, but it's feeling all right so far. Oh, wait a second. Is this doing what I think it's doing? Yeah, event controller kicks in the down thrust over 10 meters. Yeah, I was just thinking that that's what it was doing. Oh, that's a really good idea. When you get too high, the down thrusters push you back towards the ground. Yeah, here's the event controller. And then these small D-shaped thrusters are right by all the wheels. Definitely a novel idea. And I didn't actually bottom the front of this out yet. So it's doing good. Let's look around the outside of this one a little bit more. Here's where you actually access the survival kit. How is that from the ground? I think you'd have to climb on it to access the survival kit. That's not terribly hard to do with the small gravity here on the moon. There's the gyro. Can I crawl underneath it to do maintenance on the bottom? Yes, I can. Huh. That's kind of nice. Perhaps an unintended feature, but a nice one. Enu's skimmer. Lots of wheels. Some extra little wheel bumpers. These are going to blow off real fast. I'm going to tell you now. These little side bumper things, they're going to be gone with me driving. It does look like it has quite a solid base, though. Like, once those disappear, I don't think I'll be blowing anything up on this for quite a while. What do we got over here? Is this the O2H2? Okay. We got a battery snuck in there. In the back here, we've got connector. Can I reach... Okay, so we can reach the cargo container from the back with large and small items and the connector. And then the sides are where you'll have to manually load in these if you have them. I don't know why. Oh, that's the oxygen tank. You can't put hydrogen bottles in oxygen tanks, Shifty. What are you doing? This side you could do it, though. There we go. That's where we load that. We can load the hydrogen or the oxygen in the other side. Looks like the access point for the survival kit is on top of the vehicle, up there. And I see a whole bunch of thrusters, a mixture of hydrogen and atmospheric. It looks like in every direction, pretty much. You have a little bit of both. So you can run it with atmospheric or hydrogen. Friction control on bar 2, okay. I see that, good. Oh, there's all sorts of stuff. Okay. So you can turn off certain types, like the atmospheric thrusters. What are these on the hotbar here? Hydro thrusters. Oh, and the reverse ones. You want to turn off your reverse thrust so you can kind of just glide forwards. That's pretty useful. Let's make sure... Oh, we have another O2H2 right in front here. That one you could access from in the cockpit. So that's good. 4 small hydrogen tanks, so not a crazy amount of hydrogen tanks. It's probably a good amount for all the small thrusters that you have. A bunch of these small atmospheric D-shaped thrusters. And then the hydrogen thrusters there. We've got 2 warfare batteries. That's a good amount of charge. Oh my gosh, we have 2 engines as well. So we have a lot of ways to recharge this. 2 medium cargo containers. Oh, I thought we only had 1. So it has a lot of storage too, to start. And the kickstand is over here. I'm guessing that's on number 1. Nice. That's the same as mine. That's usually where I put my parking brake and things like that. It's on number 1. We're going to copy this, though, before I go destroy it. Basically just turning everything on for this one. And then we'll reduce the friction. We'll just bring it down to 0. How long do you think before I crash one of those little sidebars? I give it 30 seconds. As soon as I come down facing sideways, it's pretty much going to happen. Maybe not. And I went and I added the detector to mine. Oh, there it goes. Something went. What just blew up? Wait a second. We just blew something out of the middle? Was that the central tire? Was there a central tire? I'm not entirely certain what just blew up. I thought it was going to be an edge piece, but it wasn't. It was like a central piece. Oh, those middle wheels weren't on suspensions. That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. I just assumed that they were. But yeah, I guess there isn't really room down there. I bet without those wheels, you never lose anything underneath, because the rest of this ring of wheels is close enough together that nothing on this planet's going to be able to poke you in the belly. I'm genuinely surprised that I haven't blown up this, like, side wheel skid looking things. All right. How does it feel to actually get to the survival kit? That's my next question. When I run out of power, I guess you run up the side and then you can get to it pretty easily. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's actually not that bad. You just hop up there. And walking around on top isn't bad either, because all the slope blocks are all right. You don't get hung up on anything. Not bad. All right, what do we got next? Last one. Also a big wheel. Ooh, big. Lots of smooth black armor. High contrast with the surface of the moon. This one was built by Snow Tiger, and they used the big wheels. So these are the 5x5s? Jeez. I like the overall shape of this one, and man, those big wheels. Lots of clearance. All right, we've got hydrogen thrusters. I see hydrogen engines mirrored. Guessing that right there is an oxygen tank. And what do we have on the other side? This is the survival kit. This is how you access that. Right there. Very nice. Lots of lights. We've got 3 different types of forward-facing lights, in case you're worried about being able to see. Embedded thrusters around the top. Looks like we have atmospheric and hydrogen as well on this one. A couple hydrogen forwards, 1 to either side, a couple backwards, and then very similar for atmospheric. A couple atmospheric thrusters in every direction, it looks like. 2. Not bad. And right up top, we've got antenna, beacon, and ore detector. Very nice. What do we have for cargo capacity on this one? Out of curiosity, we do have 2 gyros, 2 engines, thrusters, 1 O2. Oh, we have a modular cargo. That's actually a lot of cargo. More than any of the other ones. So lots of cargo space, and O2H2. All right. Let's try it out. We're going to leave the hydrogen and atmospheric on to start. And we'll leave these suspensions at 5% friction. Yeah, it was like that one wheel. That's why I figured it was just something you missed. Whoa. Well, it accelerates rapidly. That's for sure. And we shouldn't have any issue dropping back down with these giant wheels. Oh gosh. We're coming in hot. I anticipate 0 issues. Yep. This wheel setup pretty much means you're not going to be taking damage.